At the end of the topic, you will be able to understand the role of demand and supply, explain the importance of demand and supply in the society, evaluate factors involved in influencing demand and supply. The products from a firm can be sold at a profitable price by involving various factors of production. The consumers willing to pay the price will be the ones for whom goods are produced. Given the importance of prices, we need to know how they are determined. Why are some high and others low? Why do some rise while others fall? It's all demand and supply. Demand is willingness to buy with purchasing power to satisfy wants. Supply indicates willingness to sell. Modern economist Alfred Marshall coined the term demand in his book Principle of Economics. The word demand is derived from the old French word demande, which means willingness to buy with purchasing power to satisfy the wants. Effective demand means willingness to buy a commodity supported with purchasing power. Price has a negative effect on willingness to buy because as the price of a product falls, the quantity demanded will rise. The given graph illustrates the relationship between the price of the commodity and the quantity demanded. Price of the commodity is measured in y-axis and the quantity demanded is measured through x-axis. Apart from price, there are various factors that influence the demand of any particular commodity, such as consumer tastes and preferences. Tastes and preferences refers to the set of assumptions related to ordering some alternatives based on change in taste of consumer. Demand for products changes as well to get maximum utility they derive by consuming it. Consumer income. Consumer income is a key determinant of consumer demand. The relationship between income and demand can be both direct and inverse. Prices of substitute and complementary goods. Substitute goods can be used in a place of one another commodity like tea and coffee. Complementary goods are used together like cars and gasoline. Consumer expectations. The expectation of consumers to get higher satisfaction in lower spending of their income. Supply is defined as the willingness and ability of firms to produce a given quantity of output in a given period of time or at a given point in time and to take it to market. Alfred Marshall coined the term of supply in his book Wealth of Nation. Supply curve shown in the graph explains the functional relationship between the price of the product and the quantity that consumers are willing to buy at desired price level. Price of the commodity is measured in y-axis and quantity demanded is measured through x-axis. Supply of product is influenced by price. This model assumes that price and quantity supplied are directly related. The availability of factors of production. The availability of factors of production such as labor or raw materials can affect the amount that can be produced and supplied. Cost of factors. Changes in costs in production will alter a firm's calculation of how much to supply at a given price. New firms entering the market. In terms of total supply to a market, the number of firms in the market will affect the total supply. Taxes and subsidies. Taxes and products have a direct effect on supply. Subsidies are funds given to firms to enable them to increase their supply or to reduce the price of their product to the consumer. Subsidies can alter the firm's willingness and ability to produce and supply, weather and other natural factors. Changes in the weather and other natural factors can have a considerable impact on the ability to produce. In this topic, you have learned demand is willingness to buy with purchasing power to satisfy human wants. Demand and supply are the functions of price. Apart from price, other influences on demand are consumer tastes and preferences, consumer income, prices of substitute and complementary goods, consumer expectations. Supply indicates willingness to sell. Other than price, there are various factors influencing supply, such as the availability of the factors of production, cost of factors, new firms entering the market, and weather and other natural factors. At the end of the topic, you will be able to validate the role of law of demand, evaluate the importance of law of supply. The law of supply and demand are the most basic laws in economics. Indeed, Almost every economic event or phenomenon is the product of the interaction of these two laws. Alfred Marshall explained the law of demand and supply. The law of demand states that the quantity of a product demanded falls as the price rises and vice versa. Conversely, the law of supply states that the quantity of a product supplied rises as the market price rises and falls as the price falls. Law of demand. Law of demand states that the quantity of a product demanded falls as the price rises while other factors of demand remains unchanged and vice versa. Alfred Marshall explained the law of demand and supply in his book Principles of Economics. Demand schedule and graph are indispensable tools in learning law of demand. A demand schedule is a table that shows the relationship between the price of a product and the quantity demanded. A demand curve is a graph that illustrates that relationship between the price of a product and the quantity demanded. The change in the illustrated graph is due to the effect of law of demand. Graphical analysis of demand. A demand curve is a graphical depiction that abides by the law of demand. It shows the change in quantity demanded of some products during a specified period of time will change as the price of that product changes, holding all other determinants of the quantity demanded constant. Price is measured on the vertical axis and quantity demanded on the horizontal axis. There are three important things to note about the demand curve. It is downward sloping, indicating that between the price of a product and the quantity demanded, a negative or inverse relationship exists. The movement along a given demand curve due to a change in price is referred to as change in quantity demanded. The price changes the quantity demanded to change. The term change in demand refers to a shift of the demand curve because of factors other than price. Exception to law of demand. Law of demand indicates that inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded of a commodity. There are some situations under which there may be direct relationship between price and quantity demanded of a commodity. These are exceptions to the law of demand, such as luxury goods. Consumers choose to buy more in the costly market. Sometimes they feel a highly priced commodity is better in quality. Thus, with the increase in price, demand increases. Necessary goods. There are some commodities which have become necessities because of their constant use and fashion. Prices of such commodities increases and demand does not show any tendency to contract and it negatives the law. For example, LPG gas, petrol, etc. Law of supply. Law of supply states that the quantity of a product supplied rises as the market price rises and falls as the price falls. Supply schedule and graph are indispensable tools in learning law of supply. A supply schedule is a table that shows the relationship between the price of a commodity and the quantity supplied. Supply curve shows the relationship between price and quantity supplied. The change in the illustrated graph is due to the effect of law of supply. Graphical analysis of supply. A supply curve traces the quantity of a product that sellers will produce at various prices. As the price falls, so does the number of units supplied. It shows how the quantity supplied of some product during a specified period of time will change as the price of that product changes, holding all other determining factors of the quantities supplied remain unchanged. Price is measured on the vertical axis and quantity demanded on the horizontal axis. There are three important things to note about the supply curve. Click on the tab for better understanding. Three important things about the supply curve are: it is upward sloping, indicating that between the price of a commodity and the quantity supplied, a positive or direct relationship exists. In other words, as the price raises, the quantity supplied will increase. Extension in supply. Higher the price, the higher would be the quantity supplied of a commodity. Contraction in supply. Lower the price, the lower would be the quantity supplied of a commodity. Increase in supply. When more units of a commodity are supplied at the same price or the same units are supplied at a lower price is defined as increased supply. With an increase in supply, the supply curves get shifted to the right. Decrease in supply. It means the same units of a commodity are supplied at a higher price or at the same price lesser units of the commodity are supplied. Summary. In this topic you have learnt: law of demand states that the quantity of a product demanded falls as the price rises, while other factors of demand remains unchanged and vice versa. Demand curve shows the relationship between price and quantity demanded. Law of demand indicates the inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded of a commodity. Law of supply states that the quantity of a product supplied rises as the market price rises and falls as the price falls. Supply curve shows the relationship between price and quantity supplied. The movement along a given supply curve is categorized as extension and contraction. The shift along a given supply curve can be referred to as increase and decrease in supply curve.